And welcome to Guitarist Magazine. We can be found on the web at www.guitarist.com. My name is Jason JROCK Houston, and we're going to be speaking with guitarist Eric Gynan from a band Leaving Eating. How are you doing today, Eric?
I'm great, and it's Eric Gynan.
Gynan, okay, I apologize. Thanks for correcting. But anyways, let me ask you, Eric. I understand the band's been around a while. How long has the band been around, and when did you guys first form?
Jeez, it's a good question.
Well, that's all right if you don't know, because I know it's your 12th record, so that kind of tells us what we need to know. You guys have been around a while, and how would you say this record compares to the previous 11?
I think it compares well. Actually, it's right up the alley.
I mean, I guess what I'm asking, do you see a progression? Would you say if you like what came before, you're gonna like this album?
I don't really see a progression. I just, there's a lot of songs, and there's a lot of songs that I've written a long time ago too. Yeah, because
I want people to know that are listening to this. To be honest, I've never heard of a band until your publicist sent me a press release, and then I went and checked out some songs from a new album, and I was pretty impressed. So I think even though you guys have been around a while, I think people discovering the band for the first time are going to dig what you guys are doing.
Yeah, right on. There's a history there, and I think it's cool because, like you just said, people may not know that we've been here, but we've been here.
Yeah, and what's interesting is, anytime you're listening to a band for the first time, you tend to think, okay, what does this remind me of? And I want to tell people what impressed me the most is, I'll just go on record saying that it's kind of great rock music, and what's interesting is you guys, as hard as this may be, you seem to have your own sound going for you. I don't really hear too much of you don't sound like every other band out there. And I think it comes it comes from listening really to the universe, so to speak. Yeah. That's
where I get it from. So it's a lot of it's already produced and done, and I just hear it. And so I think we all do that, really.
Yeah.
It just depends on if you can grasp it or not, and do something with it.
Yeah, well, like
right now, you can close your eyes and you can hear a song in your head that maybe you never heard in your life, right?
Well, I guess the point I'm trying to make is a lot of times you hear a song and you'll say, oh, that band, they sound like the Eagles or Aerosmith or whatever, and that's just maybe influences coming out. But I really do hear myself, you guys, and I don't know if it's something you set out to do, but I think you've achieved it in that you don't sound like every other band that came before you. It's like, oh wow, who are these guys? Let's go check out what they did before. And the fact that I find out you have 11 previous albums, that's what I want to do. Well, wow, if I like this, I want to go check out what came before.
Right on, yeah, absolutely. Keeping it fresh.
And so, are you an original member of the band, Eric, or?
Yeah, yes.
And so, are you the one that put the band together, or did you, tell us how the band first came together?
Yeah, it was myself and Eve who co-founded the band, and the bass player Rick, actually, he was in a band before this with me and Eve, so that kind of came full circle.
And so, what was the point where you guys decide, okay, the band we're in, it's not working anymore, it's time to, maybe morph it into something else? No, I think that we'll continue,
No,
what I mean is, okay, you said you guys played previously in another band together, so...
Okay, I get you.
Yeah,
This was just, I don't know, because it wasn't really original music we were playing in the other bands.
Okay.
We had some stuff that we were doing,
Yeah.
But we really wanted to go hit heavy with, recording and everything, so that's why we decided to do it. And some good opportunities presented themselves to us.
Yeah.
And so we went with it,
Yeah, and talk about what's it like working with a female singer, because I think that's another thing that kind of, not that there are not other bands out there doing that, but I think it kind of gives your band that extra something special, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I said this in one, maybe a few of the articles, but it was after the first 100 people came up to me and told me how great she was. They didn't tell me how great I was or anything. They told me how great she was, and And then that's another reason why I decided to do that, because I felt like I had to do something for her because she was, so good.
Yeah.
And then Alyssa, who she sings too.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think she'll be singing a song on the next album too, but that's her backups in there and stuff.
Oh, wow.
So,
well, I mean, some of my all-time favorite bands, the background sound is a very important key element. I mean, you even look at something like Van Halen on those early records. Michael Anthony was always the background sound of that band,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we try to stay consistent with that,
Yeah, and Leaving Eden, I just love that name. I mean, it's kind of simple, but what stands out about to me, it's kind of almost, to me, it sounds kind of majestic, and I know that's one of the hardest things, coming up with the band name, and I bet when you guys thought that name up, you thought there's probably not another band out there called Leaving Eden.
Exactly, and that came from, this is all the Garden of Eden here, right?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And so, wouldn't it be nice to go somewhere else?
Yeah. And then again, I love the title of the album. It kind of makes you think, as above, so low. That's kind of a tongue twister, if you will. You try to say that 3 times, huh?
Right on.
Yeah. And so, who are some of your influences there growing up? I mean, as far as your guitar heroes.
Richie Blackmore.
Oh wow, he's one of my favorites. Yeah.
Yeah. Always like Black Sabbath.
Yeah, Black Sabbath. And Tony Iommi, you can never go wrong. I mean, those are 2 of the greatest players. And if you know anything about Tony Iommi or Black Sabbath story, he plays the way he does because the tips of his fingers got cut off. When he was a very young lad back in England going to school.
Yeah, I know that story, and it's pretty incredible that he was able to be so successful like that, and it's almost like he plays slide, right? Almost.
Yeah.
A little bit because of those fingertips.
And as far as Black Sabbath, I'm curious, are you kind of a fan of it all? Or do you prefer like the Ozzy era over Dio, or do you kind of like it all?
I like it all. I got to play with Black Sabbath, and it was with Dio right before he died.
Oh wow! Yeah.
And let me tell you, man, he was like spot on.
Yeah.
And it was not, it wasn't that long before he passed away, so that was great, and it's something that I can certainly never do again.
Oh sure.
With him. So those are the times that I remember. Like I got to play with Dimebag before he passed away.
Wow. Yeah.
Quite a few of them. I got to play with oh my goodness, I can't draw his name now, from Stone Temple Pilots.
Oh, Scott Weiland.
Yeah, Scott Weiland before he passed away too.
Amazing. And Ronnie James Dio, I got to see him on that last tour, and if anybody ever seen him on stage, and you could probably attest to this, it's amazing. Little tiny guy, but I mean, he had a powerhouse, voice. It's amazing. Was able to come out that little man, Yeah.
Did you know that he did bebop before?
Oh yeah. I mean, you can go on YouTube and I think like there's stuff I've seen with Ronnie and the Prophets that's almost kind of pop like, and he had short hair. You never even recognize him. But I love kind of discovering stuff like that, because you really do get to see your heroes, kind of their influences and what came first and what inspired them. And when you think that Ronnie James Dio got his start doing music like that and became the heavy metal king that he was, I mean, it's just amazing. Yeah. And I always loved Black Sabbath, I tell you, but I love it all too, like you said, but I really love the Dio era, and I'll tell you why, because I remember when Ozzy left, everybody thought it was over for Sabbath, and then they brought in Dio, and he just took it in a new direction. But I mean, that's why I heard Geezer talking about, he used to write all the lyrics, but when Ronnie James Dio joined, he says, when you got a guy like that, I didn't need to write the lyrics anymore.
Wow.
Yeah. And Richie Blackmore you brought up. I was curious, are you a fan of both Deep Purple and Rainbow, or do you like one better?
Yeah, I like both of them. I like Rainbow.
Yeah.
Probably more.
Okay.
But there's some really awesome Deep Purple tunes too. So.
Oh sure. And did you ever get a chance to check out what he's doing now with his wife, Blackmore's Night?
Yes, I have.
Because what I tell people is it's nothing like Deep Purple or Rainbow, but I was surprised because actually your publicist, who is also Richie's publicist, sent me one of their Blackmore's Night CDs to review a number of years ago, and I thought, okay, to be fair, I'll give it a listen and I'll see what this is. And again, it's not Deep Purple Rainbow, but I was quite pleased. It's not maybe something I would typically go out and buy, but I thought, Richie's at a place in life where he can kind of do whatever the hell he wants, and it's not. And I think if you have an open mind, it's not totally. It's not bad. It's just different,
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think kind of, although you guys sound nothing like Blackmore's Night, I think that's the kind of band this is, that you get great rock music, but it's a little something different. But I think people can. It's definitely like. I'll give you an example. You guys do a great cover of John Lennon's "Working Class Hero," and great song to cover. So talk about that.
Yeah. Well, as you know, I look at the universe, and really, I felt this overwhelming, feeling to record that particular song, and it was just coming to me, and because I look at the energy as a net, what I mean. So we're part of it, so we obviously can tap into that, and so I felt like John Lennon wanted it written. Not wanted it recorded with a full band, because I couldn't find anything else other than the acoustic version. So we put the band thing in there, did it heavier, obviously.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, after I recorded it, I happened to see an interview on YouTube with John Lennon, and they asked him where his songwriting came from, and he actually said, something to the line of, well, it comes from people that have passed away, and they're just looking for an open vessel, and I was open.
And now
he actually said that, so
wow.
That's what was like, wow, jeez.
Yeah, so I'm assuming you were a Lennon fan growing up, or tell me how you first.
I wasn't really growing up, but after, of course, I did. I learned to appreciate a lot of stuff after. I hated so much music when I was growing up, but I ended up liking it.
It's funny. Most musicians, and I think even the hard rock and metal guys are into the Beatles and John Lennon, and part of the reason for that is they're just they're great songs. For example, they got a greatest hits album called The Number Ones, 21 number one hits. For any band to have 27 number one hits, that's quite an accomplishment,
Yeah, you can't deny it. Exactly. And we do the Fleetwood Mac, Silver Springs Fleetwood Mac tribute, kind of on the side.
Oh, okay.
And that ended up blowing up. It really did.
Wow.
We did it kind of. I couldn't afford guitar picks when I was a kid, so I had to use my fingers. I just had to. And then here I am doing Lindsey Buckingham, which he plays with his fingers, and it's pretty challenging actually, because he's a banjo player.
Well, let me ask you, when you guys do that, do you just play the music, or do you dress up like the band?
Oh no, they wear the wigs and everything, and it's the whole thing.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm
really huge shows with it.
Well, I tell you, I'm a huge fan and supporter of tribute bands, and I'll tell you why. It's much harder than people think it is, and the other thing with it is, I like to call it rock and roll theater. For example, I have a friend that plays in a Guns N' Roses tribute band out here in Los Angeles, and you look at him and you'd swear it was Axl Rose 1987 all over again. He looks the part, he sounds the part, and for the next time the real Guns N' Roses come to town, first of all, it's not that often, and you're not going to probably be able to afford that $1,000 ticket, but you could go down to the local club or theater and see Guns N' Roses tribute. Do a pretty fair remake of it, and it's also fun because you go to these shows and you think, man, that reminds me of the very first time I heard "Welcome to the Jungle" on the radio. I remember where I was. It's that good. Yeah. And so
that's very cool.
And so I would imagine doing that, you have a lot of fun, because probably those are songs you grew up on too, and so they mean something to you.
Well, again, that's another. I didn't really like Fleetwood Mac too much.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, not really at all. But again, something that I really learned to appreciate over time, and now I really appreciate the band a lot. And they were third selling, highest selling album in the world as far as rock goes. So we figured it's a good little niche. People like the music, and you know what? It's such a it's such a cool vibe because everybody's kind of like dancing and stuff, you know.
And even if you weren't a huge fan,
you can't really miss with it.
And even if you weren't a huge Fleetwood Mac fan back in the day, I mean, who hasn't heard those songs a dozen times on the radio? So I imagine they're at least, you know, if you're a musician, it's easy to, you know, learn those songs. And you know, like you said, you get people coming to the shows. And what I dig the fact that, you know, you could have gone with like an obvious Beatle tune that's been covered to death, or even a John Lennon tune like Imagine, but you went one that people have heard, that people are aware of the song Working Class Hero, but and you really rocked it up, like you said. So I think that's kind of cool when you kind of can put your stamp on it.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of just heard this whole, you know, melody going on behind it, you know, with the guitars, so, and the bass. If you really listen to that bass line, it's pretty intricate.
Yeah, and you know, Eric, like as we sit here, it's amazing because just last year, talking about John Lennon, I mean, you know, he was murdered a little over 40 years ago. Imagine, I mean, that just turned 50 last year. So a lot of these songs are really kind of, they've been out there for forever, and so even the younger and the older generations come together, they still love the song.
Absolutely. And you know, I was going to tell you with that Fleetwood Mac, we're going to actually be meeting Stevie Nicks, a friend of mine.
Oh, wow.
Who's at Live Nation. Yeah, we're going to be meeting her in September, so that's for the girls. They're super excited.
Oh, I bet. And so let's talk about some of the other songs. How many songs are on the, is it a full-length album or an EP?
It's a full length.
Yeah, that's good. And let's talk about, like, if people want to go and buy the catalog of music, can they still get the older stuff on CD and that?
Yeah, they can get well, some of the albums, the CDs aren't around, but they can get, you know, they can download it and they can get the album.
Yeah, that's the reason I ask, because I know a lot of bands are just releasing stuff digitally, and that makes sense because, you know, let's be honest, not a lot of people are buying CDs. I mean, vinyl's making a little bit of a comeback, which is kind of, you know, interesting, but I've always been the type person, I love to hold, you know, vinyl or CDs in my hand. I love to look at the artwork. I love to read, you know, who the special guest was or who co-wrote the songs, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think we have probably, you know, 8 CDs.
Okay.
So,
That's
so that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. And how often do you guys...
Definitely all the ones that were released in the last, like, let's say, 6 years or so.
Okay.
Definitely all of them. We release an album every year, sometimes 2.
Well, that's more than you get with even some of the, you know, mainstream bands. I mean, Guns N' Roses come out with a new album maybe like once a decade or something like that. We're still waiting for a new one, but so that's always good. And are you the principal songwriter, or does everybody contribute?
I'm the principal songwriter. I usually put everything down before I present it, so everything is like scratch tracks, you know, and then of course everybody puts their own
stamp on the song. Yeah,
stamp. That's a good word. Yeah, everybody puts their own stamp on there.
And as far as recording, are you guys all in the same room, or do you do kind of a modern way where everybody has their own home studio and you piece it together?
No, we all come together.
Yeah.
Okay, and we have our own studio, and we've recorded the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 albums, and then I send it off to my buddy Bob St. John.
Yeah, and a lot of bands do it kind of a modern way, like I was saying, you know, just simply for financial reasons. But I'll tell you, all my favorite bands when I was growing up, that's the old school way of doing it. The band would be in the same room in the same studio, and even when you put the record on, I think you can hear that vibe, you know.
Yeah, definitely, and you can. I mean, from those older analog recordings too. I mean, you really hear the bass and the drums and a lot of those recordings. So,
and this
awesome.
This may sound like a silly question because I'm talking to a guitar player, but do you think of yourself more as a guitar player or a songwriter, or would you say they're both equally important? I guess the question I'm asking here is, like, I was interviewing somebody else, and I was asking, like, okay, you know, when you're recording and that, how important is it for you to kind of show off your guitar skills. And his answer was, this other guy's answer was, well, you know, I think myself really primarily as a songwriter, so it's more about what fits the individual song.
Yeah, I think that I'm probably the same vein.
Yeah. Oh,
songwriting. Just always writing.
And so, how have people been responding to the new album? Because it just came out maybe about two weeks ago or so.
Excellent. We got Green is on the Billboard.
Amazing.
Which is awesome. You know, so that's going around. And get the reports.
And I think that's pretty cool because, like again, a lot of bands they'll do a cover to kind of, especially when you have a new album coming out. You know that'll get on the radio, get people talking about it. But I think it's kind of cool that you got an original tune, like you said, on the Billboard. That's the one that's that everybody is kind of responding to, and you want everybody to respond to the whole thing. But you know what I mean? That's got to be pretty exciting to you guys as a band. Hey, our song is on Billboard. You know, this song we wrote.
Yeah, exactly. And they push the single, so that's what they push, and then the rest of it's there. But that's what's getting pushed, and I kind of let everybody, the label and the guys that push the album to the radio. I let them. They do some kind of a mathematical equation kind of thing. But they decide of which song to go with. So.
And I was curious, Eric. Would you say this album's probably? I mean, is it fair to say? Maybe gone a really better push than maybe some of your previous albums.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think,
I agree.
And I think part of a reason for that is because it seems to me you guys got besides having a great band, a great album, great music, because I mean that's the key thing to have. But a lot of times you could have the greatest sounding album, but if you don't have a right team of people behind you or people working behind the scenes, nobody's going to hear it. And I just want to let people know listening to this, even if you've never heard of a band, Leaving Eden, and I fall into that category. I think you know next year or so you're going to hear more and more about this band, and I say that not just basing on hearing the album, but because I know that like you share the same publicist, for example, as Judas Priest, Michael Schenker, Carmine Appice, the Boucher brothers from Blue Oyster Cult, so you're working with these professional people, and they seem to be doing a great job of getting you guys out there.
Yeah, you really have to do that. And like you said, I haven't really done that. We've just kind of released the albums, and that was that.
Whatever.
So we decided with this one, let's go the full blown thing here, and let's really let's do it.
And so where's the band?
So I would advise that to any artist.
Yeah, and where's the band from?
We're from I used to be able to see every baseball game, Red Sox baseball game, from my apartment. I used to live right
wow.
behind there.
How exciting.
Right Boston. Yeah, so we're in Massachusetts.
Home of Aerosmith in Boston and all those great
absolutely.
great rock
played
bands.
with Steven Tyler, had a great time.
Oh, what was that like? And was that
it was
like
awesome. He was so cool, and what a show. I mean, at his age, he still does the same show. Of course, he got off. He was tired.
Yeah.
Tell that.
I mean,
but he took the time to hang out with us.
Yeah.
And everything. It was awesome.
I mean, some of these guys are getting up there, in age and real rock and roll warriors. I mean, probably the best example of that is, Phil Collins from Genesis. I mean, everybody knows him these days as a lead singer, but he's really bashed his body, where to the point he can't even play his drums anymore. But he at least can get up there and sing,
Yeah, I was just watching. I think like he was saying he was done. Was a video of him saying that was his last show or something like that. He didn't look too good.
Yeah, they retired, but I guess he just can't play the.
Toll, it does take its toll. You got to be an athlete, actually. You really do, and it just depends on how you deal with that. Some people deal with it, but drugs and booze,
Yeah.
That can only last so long.
And then even just your age, I mean, I was amazed when I interviewed Albert Bouchard, the drummer from who used to be in Blue Oyster Cult. He's a solo artist now, and he was telling me he's almost 76 years old, does marathons. He's still able to drum. I mean, it's just amazing. So I guess part of that is taking care of yourself and staying in shape.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, we've been to California. We've been to 47 of the states.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I love California.
So that was my next question.
I'm looking forward to going back there too.
That's my next question. Is what are you guys' plans as far as touring behind the new album?
Well, we're booked solid through I don't know, November right now.
And so, did you got like, are you on a tour with another band, or are you doing different dates?
No, we just play ourselves.
Oh, okay.
Well, I you know, sometimes they have bands open for us as well. You know, I try to pass that on and share.
And so
those opportunities, so to speak.
So Eric, since the new album's come out, how many of the new songs are in the new set?
None.
Oh, interesting. Okay. You have
None right now, as of today.
And
but we're actually rehearsing a bunch of that stuff this week.
And there's a song on the album.
Adding, probably 3 or 4 of them.
There's a song on the album. The name is escaping me. It's Fruit of Something. That's like my favorite track on the album.
Fruit.
Yeah, there you go. Forbidden Fruit. I don't know. That track to me just really stands out. It's just a great musical tune. It's, you know, kind of sticks in your head.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you have a favorite track off the album? That's probably a tricky question, because you're like, well, it's like asking me my favorite child. Yeah.
I can't say. I really like the song "Dying in a Living Hell."
Okay. Wow.
Because it's pretty heavy. It's got a really cool lick in there. I like the first song too.
Okay. And
Jackhammer.
Oh wow, that's cool. And so, were these all newly written songs, or did you have some of these songs laying around for a while?
Most of them were new. I think there's a song that starts with the piano on there.
Okay.
And that I found. I don't even actually. I don't remember writing it. It's the only song out of all the songs that I've written that I don't remember writing it. And I don't remember recording the scratch tracks. But
so did you kind of come across that and like, oh, what's this?
Yeah, I came across it. I'm like, holy shit. So I'm sorry for my language.
No, that's fine. We're on the internet. You know, that's kind of a cool story, because I mean, that to me, what is a really true test if it's a great song or not. The fact that you kept the song for however many years, and you come across it and you're like, man, I can't even remember doing that, but it's, I think it's so good that we got to.
I was amazed.
Yeah,
I really was. I was amazed. I'm like, this is a great song. So then I think it was maybe Alyssa. She said you should have Eve, you know, sing it too. So we went back and forth on the verses, and it ended up being even better.
Wow, yeah, and that really is a test of a true great song. Is that you know, you could have wrote the song, you know, 15, 20 years ago. This is a great song. It's still a great song, you know.
Yeah, The Brighter Side of Life was written a few years ago too, but that was never released.
Yeah, I mean, a lot
Green.
Yeah.
Green is the
single. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's one of the oldest songs. I wrote that so many years ago.
Wow. Do you think it? I mean, probably.
I got an email.
Yeah.
And the title on the email said "Green." And I'm like, "What's this?" And it was about climate change or whatever. I just thought that was so funny that I just got an email that said "Green." And the title of the song. Now, here's an example of like maybe being prophetic. Because I wrote, you know, and the sky turned green in the distance of a dream. Wow. And I just felt like I needed to write that, and that ended up becoming the name of the song. But I didn't know why, but I just felt like I needed to write it. And then, I don't know, probably a month ago, I saw one of the states, they had pictures of the sky, and the sky was absolutely green.
Wow.
You know? And so, I mean, those are the exact lyrics of the song.
How prolific,
yeah. The distance of a dream, so.
Wow, how prolific. I mean, and it's one of those things too. It sounds like, you know, you take your songwriting pretty, you know, pretty serious. I mean, and just listening to the album, I mean, that's the thing, is each song really, I can say, stands out on its own. I mean, it's one of those albums, kind of like when I was growing up back in the day, classic albums where all the songs really seem like they fit on the album, but at the same time, I think you could release any song as a single and people would respond to it. Yeah,
and we always have there's a song called "Stoned" on there. We always have a song on there for the parties. We've been doing that for the last 5 albums, I think.
Wow. Well, Eric, I want to thank you once again for taking the time to talk to me out of your busy schedule. We always appreciate it. If you enjoyed the interview today, let's keep in touch. And next time you have a new single or video, we'd be more than happy to talk to you again. And I'll let you know when the interview is getting posted, probably within the next 2-week period. Once I have a date, I'll be sure to let Chip know.
Awesome. Sounds great, man. And a pleasure talking to you today.
Anytime. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right.
Chaotic Riffs Magazine.